What's something stupid you used to do in middle school to be cool? Made a secret deal with a close friend. We both will subtly drop rumors about each other, that we both have hot girlfriends outside school. The next day after football, I initiated, "Have you seen Pat's girlfriend? She's a real cutie." Another guy, "He was saying the same about you this morning. What, you guys made some loser pact about a pretend GF?" Me, "I gotta go, see you tomorrow." I'm not sure how cool he thought it was, but one guy at my assigned lunch table in middle school drank milk out of a pickle every day. The school sold large, uncut pickles as a snack item, and every day, this kid would finish his meal, hollow out the pickle, and drink his milk out of it. Perhaps you are wondering how a kid hollows out a pickle. The answer is to bite one end off and then give the pickle 10 minutes of vigorous, passionate fellatio. In those halcyon days before the internet, middle school kids' ideas about sex were vague, but we all knew this was the gayest thing in the world. Frankie, however, was unfazed. "Dude, that is the gayest thing ever. Gross, what are you talking about? I'm just eating a pickle." Come to think of it, I was probably placed at some kind of isolation table for weirdos. But that kid was weird. Oh man, I was so confused about sex that mine is kind of embarrassing. I had heard that sex had a smell, and that people got turned on by the smell of sex in the air. So, I would jerk off in the bathroom stall and finish into my pants, so that when I walked around the school with a dried crust on my shorts I thought that everybody was getting turned around me, but they didn't know why. I stopped when I was 16. Carried around a handmade sign I took everywhere. One side said "awkward," the other "so random." I held this up at some situations to be funny. I wasn't funny. Like some kind of socially retarded Wile E. Coyote? I was in a breaking crew comprised of 5 Caucasian boys ranging in ages from 13 to 14. We were purposefully awful as a kind of performance art. We'd gather at the NY Public Library on Saturdays with our boombox and have everyone laughing at us. My street name was Weak Tea. Stuffed my bra. P.S. It worked. In my middle school, just wearing a bra would have made you a sensation. I went to an all-boys Catholic school. Chain wallets. It started off with short chains. Eventually, it became an unspoken contest to see who could have the longest chain. I flipped over the handlebars of my bike many times when that damn chain got wrapped around the pedal. People made fun of my voice, so I started trying to speak in a lower tone, which backfired almost immediately. My gym teacher referred to me as Kermit the Frog for years. Wear an upside down backwards to the left yellow visor with my bleached, peroxide, hair gelled up. I'd wear a belt that was too big, then buckle it and let all the slack drop out of the buckle. Like over a foot of belt just drooping like a floppy leather dick. Wore my backpack straps as low as they could possibly go. The bag would slap against the back of my legs every step, but I didn't care 'cause I was the shit. I used to wear band-aids on my knees, just because. I thought it made me cooler somehow. I went to a Catholic school, so I thought being an altar boy made me pretty damn cool. It did not. I would crawl around on the floor of the school bus and mess around with people's feet. Also, one time I ate a dirt-covered Smartie and I don't even think anyone was watching me. I'm legitimately starting to think I'm actually retarded in some form or another. I used to keep my afro pick in my hair. I am a curly-haired Arab boy. I played that stupid game, quarters, with the cool kids. For those who never had the pleasure of playing this game, I'll give you a brief background. One person starts a quarter spinning on edge by flicking it. The second person has to touch the quarter without stopping the spin, followed by person 1 touching the quarter. This touching goes back and forth between the two people like a sad game of hot potato until one person touches the quarter and it stops spinning. If you were the poor bastard that caused the quarter to stop spinning, you had to put your knuckles down on the table and the other person would fling the quarter at you as hard as they could. It would hurt and make people bleed, but in middle school it was the coolest thing to do during lunch break. When I was in 6th grade, I learned that the girl I had a crush on was coming to dinner with some family friends of ours. I wanted to do something to impress her, to make her think I was really smart. I knew at some point she'd probably be in my room, as it's where the kids generally congregated during these sorts of things, so I began to set the stage. At the time, I was all about dumpster diving and hitting up yard sales with my other nerd friends to build shitty Frankenstein rigs with the components we salvaged or picked up on the cheap. So naturally I gathered all my old spare and broken hard drives, poured dish soap all over them and got the hammer out at the ready. When they entered my room, I made sure I was furiously smashing the shit out of these drives with my hammer, tiny metallic pieces and soap suds flying everywhere. We made eye contact for a moment before she and her friend slowly backed out of the room. She avoided me for the remainder of the evening. All these years later, I can still remember the look of horror and confusion on her face. I can't for the life of me remember what series of thoughts lead me to believe there would be any possibility of her having a positive reaction to it. The pubescent mind is an interesting thing. I used to spike my hair to look like Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Later on I realized I look like a douche. We made these pin launchers out of broken pins and rubber bands, and would shoot paper, pen refills, and toothpicks at random people. One of my friends used a metal pin refill one day, and it actually got stuck in the kid's arm. We stopped using them after that, for a while, at least. This is probably more high school than middle school, but brag about not getting enough sleep. Everyone did it. Oh, you got 5 hours of sleep last night? I've only gotten 2 hours of sleep the past 2 nights. Some stupid game where being the most miserable makes you coolest. A lot of people continue playing this game into adulthood, and not only with sleep. Wasn't me, but when I was in middle school we had the group who considered themselves the thugs. They weren't that bad. They were pretty much the class clowns that you also didn't want to fuck with. Well, I remember in 6th grade, I went into the bathroom only to find them kicking one of the guys on the floor counting to 30 while the guy on the floor laughed. When it was over they congratulated him and welcomed him into their group. Yup. So cool. Some kid pissed his pants on a field trip and was just hiding from everyone as we were about to get back on the bus. Poor kid was already kind of an outcast. So to save him the shame and humiliation I put water on my crotch from a nearby faucet, and when the kids called me out I just told them it was what all the cool kids my age did. I was much older than everyone, had to redo some grades. It's a long story. Anyways, they all bought it, and before we got on the bus everyone had pissed their pants. It was kind of gross now that I think about it. Sold off my dad's porn. Seriously. Found a bunch of old nudie mags in the basement, ended up selling them out of my locker a page at a time. Worked great until I made the mistake of selling a page to the special needs kid, who immediately showed it to his fundamentalist parents. I suppose the bigger mistake was to get caught doing it again the next year.